Hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome back to the channel. It is round 5 of the Chennai Grand Masters. It is also International Chess Day to all of us celebrating. Thank you so much for the chess community that we've been able to grow on the channel, and for the larger chess community as a whole. Today is our day to celebrate. But there were two players in this round that were not celebrating, and there were two players who were celebrating quite a lot. There were 2 draws, 2 victories in this round. We start off with the world champion, Gukesh. He is struggling. He has lost 1 game out of the first 4. He's been under pressure. He seemed to have a very good game in round 4. He's playing Arjun Erigaisi, who is the person chasing down Alireza Firouzja. Alireza won his first 2 games, made 2 draws. Arjun has picked up a victory since then. So he sits half a point behind Alireza. We get a Queen's Gambit declined, and it was really nothing to speak of. The players played some theory. This G4 stuff from Gukesh I've never seen before, but he's, obviously come with an idea. G4, H4, Knight D7, now Knight to H3, and Queen B6. And once again, for the second round in a row, Gukesh, the world champion, he's not out of his preparation. He is not the first one to think. He plays Rook B1, he's still in his prep. He loses the pawn, but he's still in his prep. We get Knight E7, and now he's out of his prep. Yeah, he spends 20 odd minutes, 22 minutes or so on the move Knight G1. Arjun's only spent 15. Arjun quickly plays this, which was his idea, and Gukesh goes for this. He's like, if you take my bishop, I take your bishop. Your bishop is now hanging. Of course, the knight was defending it, so you got to do something, and you can't take. So the bishop is trapped. This was Gukesh's whole idea. The engine likes white's position. It thinks, you've sacrificed the pawn, but you're okay. We get now the bishop into G4, pinning the knight, but now, I can do this and be even fancy. I don't have to just break the pin in conventional ways. I can do fancy things like this. We get H5, now takes, now knight takes. Rook takes, knight takes. And queen takes pawn, and material has been restored. However, Arjun can still castle. Gukesh's king is stuck in the center, and he is now down half an hour. He was up time, he's now down half an hour. Knight comes back, bishop moves, we get knight df8, presumably going to put the knight here, on a much more comfortable square. We get king to f1, so we're going to castle by hand. Oh, no, knight e7. Look at the maneuvering of the horses from Arjun Erigaisi, who maintains a half-hour lead on the clock. King g2, and now to finish it off, he's just got to bring the queen back. That's the thing, but he likes his knight maneuvers. So he plays knight e6, which is slightly inaccurate, and now Gukesh. Gukesh could be better. He is better, knight e2, and Arjun here has to be precise. He has to bring his king to d7. He doesn't. He pushes a pawn so that this can't be used to, try and wreck his pawn structure. But he's worse. He's worse. Rook h1. A third inaccuracy. A straight-up blunder. And the world champion is winning. The world champion is winning. He gives a check. The knight has to block. He brings the bishop in. It's like a piñata. We're just whacking at everything. Whacking at the horses. It's a piñata. Rook d8. We attack the rook. Rook moves. Oh no. Gukesh, please don't repeat. You're winning. You're winning. Don't repeat moves. He doesn't. He plays bishop e5. And now here he has to be precise. Here he has to be precise. The best move is to just retreat. You put the bishop on f4 for most of the game. You do not have to try and hang it in one move. Because the pin, obviously. So you could go here, looking to just put everything here, but then maybe the king gets out. He goes for it. Bishop g7, loses all of his advantage. And now, look at it. He's down to 2 minutes 15 on the clock. Gukesh has struggled when his time has hit near 0. The king slides up. Check. Check. And probably this is just going to be a draw by repetition. But no. Look at this. Gukesh fires away. Even though he's down 21 minutes on the clock, he fires away with e4. He gives this away so he can pick this up. But now the knight comes in. And your pieces are kind of tied together, and you're about to have a huge problem against your king. So the knight comes out to g3. This gets picked up. This gets picked up with check. The rook can come in. But Gukesh has to kind of scramble. He's down to less than a minute on the clock. They do obviously have some bonus time. But he's got to be very careful. He's still trying to attack Arjun's king. But now he's mainly in accuracy. And Arjun, the madman, will not stop coming. He was dead lost. He makes an inaccuracy of his own. But he trades into this endgame where he is up 2 pawns. He's up 2 pawns. They're now both low on time. 2 minutes 20 plays 1 minute 54. But Gukesh just blunders in time pressure and endgame. He allows the king in, a couple of mistakes, and eventually the horses get in. And even though Arjun was down in exchange, he wins the game. He gets the knight in here. This is defended, and we're now going to push through. There won't be this fork at the end. And Gukesh loses another game, and he loses to Arjun Erigaisi, who is chasing this man, Alireza Firouzja, who's playing Dmitry Andreikin, so he'll be hoping with the white pieces against one of the lower-rated opponents that he can apply some pressure. We get a Spanish, we get a Berlin. So let's look at that. We get a Berlin, we get an anti-Berlin with d6, short castles, now bishop e7, c3. So we kind of transition into a more stereotypical Spanish with the maneuvering of the bishop. And look at this d5 move. Not quite a marshal with the queen coming out. And now queen e2. Got to, do this in the right way. We get queen d7. No games really in my database. Both players have already thought a little bit to get to this position, so it is a bit unique. a4. Now the knight's coming in. We put our knight on e4, and look at this b4. This is stereotypical what black wants to do. Put pieces in the center, activate the bishops, cause chaos on the queen side. We get a5 takes. Now look at this. Don't take back. Alireza sacrifices a pawn, but he wants pressure. He wants dynamic play. He wants to really get in and cause Andreikin problems. Andreikin just queen e6 steps out of it, but Alireza is better. We take this back. Now the knight grabs this. Andreikin up a pawn. Only for the moment. Now the knight comes in. You have to be precise. How do you take it back? He doesn't take the knight. He doesn't take the knight. He elects to move his queen. Now Alireza Firouzja is winning if he plays the move bishop d2. Not easy to play. Because, you're trying to defend stuff because everything seems to be hanging. But he takes. And he kind of gives everything away, which is silly because you're right. How does this give it away? Well, if you trade and lose the house, that's how you give it away. But queen takes d5 is wrong because we have rook ad8, which just kind of defends everything, calls your bluff. And even though you have like c4, my bishop gets in. We go for like a counter pin, by the way. Look at this move, very fancy. If you take here, I take there. So we go with a bishop to c3, which just looks like it's a fork. Bishop and queen is hit. If queen takes, then you hang your queen for me. Thank you very much. So I take, knight takes. I take the rook, you take back. I put my knight in the center, you move your bishop out the way. Both rooks just hanging perpetually for like the whole game. As we descend into chaos. Look at this. In time scramble. F4 from Alireza Firouzja. Takes. He's still at the exchange, but both of his rooks have just been hanging for moves on end. So now knight takes. We're gathering some stuff. Rook comes into d4. We take the bishop. We now take the rook back. We bring the knight back. What is even the material advantage? It's 2 horses. V 2 horses. 2 bishops. V 2 rooks. But opposite colored bishops. A really scattered pawn structure that will probably all get liquidated, and there's probably not enough checkmating material. So the bishop comes back, we hit the knight, it gets pinned, but the king steps out. We trade off the rook so we can get everything back, and once all that material is liquidated, there's nothing more Alireza Firouzja can do here. Dmitry Andreikin defends himself very, very well. We get into opposite colored bishops, and on move 41, the players make a draw. Another player who will be looking against one of the lower-rated seeds to make an impact is Hans Niemann. He's got the black pieces. And we get an Italian game from Pranesh M, of course. We get a knight variation. And now the move d4, which is almost never played. It almost looks like you mouse slip d3. d4 is played. It's definitely an open variation. We get takes. Now you have to play e5. Knight comes in. Queen e2. Knight gets kicked about. Short castles. These players know what's going on. Bishop e7. Rook to d1. Now castles, and now we finally take the pawn back in the center. We play d6. There's no need to take and like activate the rook and stuff. Play d6, get your final piece out, and so on and so forth. Bishop to f4, now takes, rook takes, knight comes back, ensuring that I will be grabbing one of the bishops, because you're either going to take my knight, or when your rook moves, I will take that bishop. So we get the captures like this, and what this allows is now pressure. We get knight to c3. Hans Niemann has got a really imbalanced pawn structure, but he's going to hope that these are quite good, and he has got the bishop pair. So he's going to try and use all of these little nuances to make progress. He brings the queen out, it hits a rook, it hits a pawn. Looks like a fork, but you can double. And you can very much try and go take here, but I'm going to take here, and your position's not quite cut out for that. Sorry. I forgot you can't do this. I forgot you can do this. Yeah. Queen takes b2. Hans Niemann just calls his bluff. He just calls Pranesh's bluff. We get the knight coming out. I take here, and I take. And yeah, I'm not going to just take and let you put endless pressure on me. I'm going to bring my bishop out. Because then even though you can go here, my bishop is now active. It's causing problems. My rook still has an open f-file for, the unique structure that I have. I can still bring my other rook in. So I've got a decent position, says Hans Niemann. Pranesh M is going to have to show that he's got compensation for the pawn. And rook c4 is kind of the wrong move. Now we get this capture. We have to quickly throw in the attack on the queen and get all of this. Where we end up, like Hans Niemann once again just sacrifices his queen. Action replay. The rook is here. The idea is the fact that you're about to trap this queen. Hans Niemann once again has got his queen trapped. But he takes the knight, which now removes some of the guard. So when you trap his queen, he can sacrifice his queen for the rook. And what he ends up with is a bishop and a rook for a queen. So the material is equal. He's also got a pawn. However, this imbalanced pawn structure is very difficult. So Hans has got some very practical chances of trying to push this outside pass pawn all the way to a2, get his other rook. The queen is very good at giving perpetual checks. So white is not lost. I don't understand the move rook to ac8. Why would you give up this? I would think this is black's biggest asset, an outside pass pawn. But maybe he thinks this is about to be used to dislodge this bishop. This will fall and so on, and maybe the rest of the position. So he goes for this. But this is not as easy. And the thing is, now that the kings are shuffling, you're going to have to try and find a breakthrough. And trading a set of rooks, it might not do it. Hans Niemann has got this. After they traded pawns, he had a new outside pass pawn, which is the b pawn. This wins him the game, or white draws it. I don't think white wins this game, unless Hans hangs a rook in time trouble. And he's down 10 minutes. But he gives it up. Again, why not defend it? Why not? You could play rook here and here. Why not defend it? So Hans Niemann making, decisions I don't understand, but I'm also not a grandmaster. So again, he's made the best choices he thought he could make to try and win this game. And he is up a pawn and he is up material. He's down a queen, but ultimately he is up a pointed material. But, white's got a fortress. They've brought the king. The king's active. The black king is constantly hunted. You cannot do much to the white king. It's quite safe. And even though, look at this. Look at the progress Hans Niemann has made. He's traded off everything. White only has the queen, but it's not enough. It's not enough. We now move 72. Is there anything that Hans Niemann can do? He's grinding this out like Magnus Carlsen would. This almost gives me the feeling of the Magnus Carlsen Jan Nepomniachtchi endgame, where Magnus went for hours on hours on hours and picked up a victory. And Hans Niemann is certainly not giving this up. He is fighting to try and win this. Ultimately, there will come a time where perpetual check is it, and ultimately, Pranesh M finds the right coordination. He picks this up, and the best Hans can do now is probably draw, because his pieces have got a bit scattered, and now we have this check, and they made a draw. The only losing move here is bishop e6, but anywhere you go, there's basically nowhere for the black king to escape. And so ladies and gentlemen, based on how the video has gone and what I told you at the beginning, One of these men walked home very, very happy. That was either Nodirbek Abdusattorov in the form of his life, or local boy Nihal Sarin. I don't know if he's local to Chennai, but he's definitely local to India. He plays e4, and we get c5. Nodirbek Abdusattorov is not afraid of a fight. He plays a Sicilian defense. We get an open Sicilian with d6 and bishop c4, which looks like you wanted to play an Italian, but your opponent didn't want to let you. Normally d4 is played here, but perhaps Nihal didn't want to go into like a Nodirbek if he wasn't feeling it, or some other type of Sicilian. We get knight to f6, all the same, but now d3, so a bit more closed fashion. This is definitely playable. Castles, g6, c3, bishop g7. Like, black is playing this like they've got a dragon Sicilian. White still thinks they're playing an Italian. Like, they've made all of the Italian moves, like a gioco pianissimo. So it's very interesting. Rook to e1, now short castles, and now a4. The structure is obviously played a lot. The question is, where do you put this bishop? Where do you put the knight? And do you continue to try and play on the queen side? Because typically in Italians, you don't always have the pawn on c5. You normally have a bishop out this way that you have to block off, but now it's been fianchettoed. So lots of combinations of ideas, lots of thinking, and yet both of these players seem to know everything that's going on. They've spent like next to no time. They've spent a couple of minutes each just getting acquainted with the position, I would imagine. The first real time is b6 and now bishop to g5 that they've thought. Now bishop g7, Nodirbek is down 10 minutes. We get Nihal Sarin bringing his knight, kind of following through on those typical ideas. Brings the bishop back, his bishop gets kicked back. We now have queen c7, we have h3. And now here is a critical point. The game is subtly slipping away from Nihal Sarin. It's not clear why. You and I would grab the knight and put it here, because that is the kind of idea. You want to put the knight here for no reason. You should play here. Get the bishop on this diagonal. Encourage this, e5, because that shuts everything down for black. Like, if you went here, I'm pretty sure black would be pretty happy. Or even, like, for example, here in king h7. And now, like, a bishop h2. The bishop belongs on this diagonal. It's not achieving anything on this one. It's staring into granite. And now if e5 comes, you're pretty happy because you play knight to c4. And you're looking at weaknesses. And you can always transfer the knight via e3, where the bishop once stood, to a outpost on d5. So that is the thing. Knight to f1 is no good, because now e5 is played. And now you can't play the bishop here and put it on this diagonal. It is permanently stuck. Queen c1, but king h7. So the one idea you had of maybe targeting this, that's dead. Even though you get knight to h2 and you're going to try and add more attackers, I'm not afraid. Now, where do you put your bishop? Which diagonal is your bishop more beneficial on? This one? Or this one? Which diagonal? Wrong diagonal. It shouldn't go on this diagonal. It is better for the time being on this diagonal, a2 to g8. Now c4 comes, we get takes, bishop takes, you lose the center pawn, the knight comes back, we don't want to trade bishops, so here, and now d5 takes, knight takes, and now the white position just seems to be falling apart. Nodirbek Abdusattorov takes advantage of a couple of inaccuracies. He's now up like half an hour on the clock, and he is completely winning. In the span of a couple of moves. Knight a5, when it was played, this is -1. The position is now -1.8. The position is now -1.8. It's now -1.7. It is now -2. It is now -2 still. -2.2. -2.5. -2.6. It's just getting worse, like every move. Nihal Sarin is struggling. You see he puts the bishop back on that a2 diagonal. Rook fe8. Now the queen comes onto that diagonal. We get e4, slamming you in the face. The knight comes here. And now again, Nihal, what do? What is causing you more problems? What is more pressing in the position? He decides to try and bring this knight back. To where? Not that it's a particularly useful piece on h2, but where are you going? Here? And get your bishop trapped? Here and get forked? just remove this knight, and maybe then you can try and maneuver a bit better, because now this knight comes in. It's now a permanent problem. You move the rook over because you don't want to hang a rook. Nodirbek here, to his credit, makes the inaccuracy. He plays a6. He can just go for the immediate this. He can just do this immediately. It looks like you can't, but you absolutely can. This works. You just play it on the spot. He goes for a6. I assume he didn't like some knight out to b4 to b5. b5. But now bishop d2 takes. A move that looks impossible, and that's when you know you're dead. When your opponent is up 20 minutes on the clock and they play this, knight takes f2, a move that looks impossible, and yet, it very, very much is. King takes, check. King moves. By the way, you're saying, hang on, why can't I try and take this? Well, because I've got 3 defenders. So let's say takes. Look at this. I'm up a bunch of material. You very much are. I'm just trying to see what is the exact winning move here. Knight comes back, then I don't know. 4 probably the house. It's mate in 5. G1, we hide the king. And now we take the bishop. Rook takes. Knight comes in. By the way, there's half an idea here to just be savage and to go here and fork everybody again. But we take the bishop. Takes. Knight comes in. Rook f2 is just wrong. Nihal Sarin really struggled in this game. It seemed like he just maybe wasn't understanding the position. Again, I'm talking as a player who's not a grandmaster at all, who's nowhere near as good as Nihal Sarin is. It just seemed like he struggled, and Nodirbek Abdusattorov, this is a masterpiece of a game. A beautiful game. Look at this. Knight takes g2. Everything worked. Even though his queen gets hit, he sacrifices the rook for it, gets his knight out, the queen comes in, but now look at this. Checkmate is being threatened. The bishop is being threatened. Everything in your position is being threatened. The knight comes out, defends mate, but now I go here. And look, the move that you should probably play is this. Just play this. Because the worst that happens is, you get out of it somehow. Let's say bishop d5, queen d7, now rook d1 to continue to cause problems while your own queen is hanging. Rook takes e2, bishop g8 check, king takes it. This is the top engine line for Nihal Sarin to try and escape. It's just not good enough. So rook e1, the game ends with f4. Because what can you do? You can't move the knight. Where did you move the knight? Because everything falls. It's not because of mate. Well, it is, because that is checkmate. So you can't move the knight. This no longer works. So Nodirbek Abdusattorov wins. And he's now is doing quite well. I can't remember what the actual standings are. But I know for a fact that in fact, let's check the actual standings, right? I was streaming for International Chess Day. That's why all the stuff is up there. But I wanted to see the overall standings. Our official website. Let's check the final standings, ladies and gentlemen. After 5 rounds, we've only got 2 rounds left of this tournament. There were only 7 rounds. It is very exciting finish, definitely speaking. I think Alireza still has to play Arjun, if I'm not mistaken. But I do stand to be corrected. If the Quantbox Chennai Masters website doesn't quite give us what we're looking for, we'll jump over to chess.com. This is taking a bit to load. Book tickets, Season 4, prize structure, formats, Masters. Okay, yeah, 2025. Masters. Okay, there's a lot of pictures. That's really cool. That looks like Vincent Keimer, though. Oh, but that's because it's 2025. I went 2026. Okay. Don't know what happened there. let's jump onto chess.com. The US Junior and Senior Masters is also on, by the way. Sorry it's taking so long to load the final standings. I just want a nice little graphic for us to end on. So results after 5 rounds. Yeah, so this is the kind of cross table that I'm looking for. Gukesh is last place with 3 draws and 2 losses. Nihal Sarin, Pranesh M and Niemann all have 1 loss apiece. Hans obviously losing to Erigaisi. Arjun and Alireza have not played each other. They still have to play each other. They are playing each other in the final round. Alireza's got a tough final fixtures because he's got black against Nodirbek, who's now, just a half point behind the 2. And then he's got to play Arjun with white. Arjun, for his end of tournament, has got to play Nihal Sarin. So, he might be looking to take advantage. If he's able to win tomorrow against Nihal, he'll be looking quite good for the tournament. He's got white against Nihal, black against Firouzja. Nodirbek has got Firouzja, and then he's got black in the final round against Andreikin, who has just made 5 draws. He's the only player not to win or to lose. He has come here and he has made 5 draws. Niemann 4 draws and a loss. Pranesh M 4 draws and a loss. Nihal Sarin 4 draws and a loss. The World Champion Gukesh bringing up the rear, 3 draws, 2 losses. 2 wins apiece for Arjun and Firouzja, and then Nodirbek Abdusattorov 4 draws and a win. But that is how things shape up, ladies and gentlemen, after 5 rounds of the Chennai Grand Masters. It is a very exciting tournament. And round 7 and round 6, I can't say it in the reverse order because it's a meme and I'm tired of it, are shaping up to be very exciting. Let me know what you think and how you spent International Chess Day in the comments down below.